And so I'm listening to this book, and I instantly, for the first time in a very long time, wanted to journal. I had lots of words to say. I had lots of thoughts. I had lots of memories, lots of things that came up um, that I'm now going to be processing and working through. And that's what's really cool about personal development is like you have the opportunity, personal development and therapy, you have the opportunity to process through it, understand it, not make it wrong, and then grow from it, which I think is such a gift.
Hi, welcome to Say More Words, a podcast that was created to emphasize the human experience through stories. I hope that you come here to learn, to expand, and most importantly, learn how to say more words. Speak your story, speak your truth, boo boo. We're so happy you're here.
Hi, how are you? How are things? It's been a hot minute since we've had a tea time or a podcast or any of the things. And so I decided today is the day. We're going to do both. So if you're listening to this on Say More Words or you're listening to this on Facebook Live, happy tea time, happy Say More Words, and happy time together. I am drinking coffee because I did it, y'all. I did it to myself again. The song of the day is Hymn to Virgil by, is it Hozier? Yeah. Anything about like anything he sings just sings like directly deep into my bones. And that's one I've been playing on repeat. So that's the song of the day. It's just so good. It doesn't even go along with anything that we're talking about today, but it's just very good. So, since we saw each other last, it has been a whirlwind couple of weeks. And I had told everybody, I think last week, that I entered into a lupus flare-up again. And then I get asked 10,000 questions. And so we're just going to answer all of those questions. So I was diagnosed at about 16. My symptoms started at 14. And I had a tumultuous path with it. I'm very thankful with all of my natural health care that I do to take care of myself. I am pretty good at staving, is it staving off for someone who has a podcast called Say More Words. Some words I don't know, but I've been really good at stopping said attacks from happening, but it happens still about 2 to 3 times a year. And that was me this last couple of weeks. It does cause extreme brain fog in me. Like that, when I go down, I like have the full body swelling and the pain and all of that. But the biggest thing is my brain basically ceased to exist. And so I'm still stumbling and I still get lost in my words. So we are going to go through this as much as we possibly can because today's kind of a big topic. Um, but yeah, that's just been kind of what's been going on. It is hard for me to full stop, not gonna lie to you, um, because it does require a full stop in order for me to recover. I sleep a lot, and I am a little hazy today because we had Calvin's birthday party all day Sunday, and then I volunteered at a golf tournament yesterday, and so I did too much too quick, and now my brain's back to fog. So that being said, I'm on the up and up. I'm on recovery. I did do my face today and make myself presentable for y'all and the world. And we'll probably need a nap here shortly. So we are getting there. But on today's topic, on the topic of getting there, I I have been going through it, y'all. It's eclipse season, solar eclipse season. So lots of really big things happen during that time. And we just got through with like an absolutely painful summer of lots of different solar things happening and lots of things changing and the world feeling like it was on fire. So in my time, the one thing that I did do, I'm a big physical book reader, but I'm a big Audible person too. And a couple of weeks ago, we were at Barnes and Noble. Y'all know I love a good sign. And we're at Barnes and Noble, and a book like fell off the bookshelf, just like fell off at me. And I was like, well, I guess I need this book. I guess I have to read this book. took that as a huge sign. So I got it on Audible, and holy cow, did I need this book. We can go like, y'all know I I will admit to humanness. And even though I do this work and I guide people in how they talk to themselves and the way that they look at the world and all of that, like I still am a human and things happen. And I have struggles just like everybody else. Everyone, like a lot of people in my space that are experts like to pretend like nothing happens. No, boo, you're falling apart too. And this is one of those moments, friends, where a girl fell apart and all because of this book. So on Audible, the book is called Lovable, and it's by Amber Rae. And she is a lovely human. She is just lovely. I'm going to try and get her on the podcast. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but you know what? Jesus loves me and everything goes my way. So we're going to get Amber Rae on the podcast. But the book's called Lovable. It's 5 hours on Audible, and I am not a 1.5 times speed person on Audible. I think people who listen to it on 1.5 or 2 times speed, I think y'all are on some sort of crack, and I don't have access to that because like my brain cannot process it. So I read at normal speed. It's a 5 hour book or something, and I'm listening to this book, and I'm like, oh my God. I had one of those moments where life just throws something at you, and literally the book just was thrown at me. Life throws something at you and you realize your next level of development. You notice your next level of health. And that's the funny thing about like the mental health field and mental health work and personal development work. Like it does take a spark in order for you to realize that there is a new level of growth that needs to be had. So I'm listening to this book and I'm just absolutely floored. I am taken away. That she, it is a memoir of her life, and she is talking about conversations she's having with her therapist and conversations with people in her life, and she's just going back and forth and back and forth. And I was like, holy cow, there it is. There's that next level of growth. This is the thing that's stopping me, the thing that's stopping me from moving forward. Like it was a huge aha moment, which is why I tell people to read. Like you can read your fantasy and your smut. I think that's also very important to like get your creative mind work flowing. But the personal development work matters. And I will be fully honest with you. I tell people to read all the time, and I have not been doing a good job of that this year. Full confession, just haven't. And, like, is it the grief? Is it the overactive nervous system? What is it? Who knows? But I've just been avoiding it until recently. I started reading again and picking up books, both personal development and fantasy and things like that. Reading this really interesting book about a wizard who solves murders and get whatever. Anyways, back to the point. But I tell people to read because you have to expand your consciousness on thoughts. You need to expand your consciousness on ideas. And this book did it for me. And literally, I'm listening to a conversation because I'm listening to the book, not reading it, that she's having with her therapist. And I was like, why has no therapist in all of the years of therapy said these things to me? Why have they not pointed this out? So if you are new here, and survived a huge traumatic event with my parents. That is episode 11 on the podcast. Say More Words. You can listen to the whole trauma thing. So I survived that notion. And because my dad was a catalyst in that event, dad was the biggest work that we saw at the time that needed to be done. So for years and years and years, it's always been back to dad, always been back to dad. And um, not once has it ever been come up that maybe that maybe I needed to do work on the whole mom thing. Because mom left when I was like 23, 24 years old, left all three of us girls to go live her life. Fine, bye. And I forgave her for that piece in my world, right? Like of the forgiveness activities, forgave her for that space. But it was never something that was brought back to. So all of the work that I did on my dad was to heal the father wound. We all have wounds that we can get from our parents. That's a very real thing, whether they intend to do it or not. Some wounds are things that happened when your parents were just doing their best. They were just doing their best, but it was impactful for you. So we have a father wound and a mother wound. And I did so much work. And that was my catalyst in 2022. I healed my father wounds. I, reconnected with him, saw him again in person for the first time. I was really in the space of healing that. And that caused just absolute massive growth in my life for me personally, for my business. When you start to heal yourself personally, you see it to start to reflect in all aspects of your life. That is just a fact. And so I healed, like it was just a deep resignation of healing on that father wound. I'm listening to this book, and she's talking about she has both a father and a mother wound and a stepfather wound. And she's talking about healing her mother wound. And I was like, oh, holy hell. That's something like, while forgiven my mom, I've never really worked on the wounds that existed and still exist because of maybe the things that she said, the way that she parented, um, her leaving, all sorts of different things. I never really healed that space. And it was like opening a door to a new level of work that I had to do on myself, especially because generational trauma is carried down through women more heavily than men. So generational trauma, for those of you who don't know what it is, and I looked up a definition because like I know how to describe it in my own words, but I think it's very important for you to understand that everybody has generational trauma. And what that is, also known as intergenerational trauma, it's the lasting psychological and physiological effects of traumatic experiences that were passed down from one generation to the next. And some of them are rampant and you can figure it out, and some of them are deep rooted and deep seated. Like, there's some families that have the generational trauma from the Great Depression. In the African American community, there is social it's like a social disease, um, of poverty and lack consciousness and scarcity that started during slavery. And that just keeps getting like we may not be enslaved today, but the mindsets of your family, it just keeps getting passed down year generation after generation, which is part of the reason why they say it's kind of hard to get out of the wealth class of your parents or people who came before you, because that trauma just keeps circling. And in the book, she talked about the generational trauma that is passed down from women. And admittedly, our generation, like the people who are alive now, use therapy far more than people who did in the past. Um, they like therapy is not taboo. It is not something that's looked down upon. It is something that freaking everyone does these days. And so it's no wonder that there is a higher level of wealth and money being transferred all over the place. But there's also very deep rooted limitations that are coming down from your family line. And so I'm listening to this book and I'm like, oh, because there's something, right? Like, and I understand and I am doing my best to be in the space that I'm still in a process of grief. But there's always felt, after the massive healing that I did with my dad, that something was like still stuck. Feeling like there's something stuck in my chest, like I couldn't talk about, but I didn't know what it was. And reading this book and listening to this book really unlocked it, that my next level of healing has to come from healing my mom and healing the mother wound and healing generational trauma and generational um even generational curses that exist that happen over and over and over again. It's kind of an interesting thing. It's a very eye-opening thing, but it's a very interesting thing to sit down and look at the generations and to talk to people who experienced those generations. That's one of the things I was most glad about, that I got to have an experience with my dad, is to ask him questions about those that he knew and in our family lines and trying to understand more what they experienced because that trauma is held onto, whether it's acknowledged or not. And now I'm in this space that now I get the opportunity, and I say that purposely, I get the opportunity to do it for my mom and my mom's side. Because there are ways in which I'm staying small. There are ways that I'm really good at self-sabotage. There are ways in which I um can maybe present myself in a space of fear and scarcity. I have opportunities definitely in which I can have massive amounts of growth and then despair, and then amounts of growth and despair. And I do believe that working on this mother wound and working on this space and the women of my family and working through that trauma to understand it, expose it in a way for myself, not like for the news. It's like nobody wants to know that, right? I'm not famous enough for that, but like expose it and understand how I'm also repeating the cycles of the people of my past, to unlock this. Like I did a lot of work on my dad's side of the family for this, but I've always only focused on him and all things in therapy, all of that, because that was the obvious trauma, right? Now it's time to start uncovering the not so obvious. It's time to start processing that because I think I'm harboring some of that. I'm holding on to it, and it's causing some not fun things to happen. And so I'm listening to this book, and I instantly, for the first time in a very long time, wanted to journal. I had lots of words to say. I had lots of thoughts. I had lots of memories, lots of things that came up, um, that I'm now going to be processing and working through. And that's what's really cool about personal development is like you have the opportunity, personal development and therapy, you have the opportunity to process through it, understand it, not make it wrong, and then grow from it, which I think is such a gift. Instead of having this feeling or having these cycles or having these ups and downs and side to sides and all of that, in which we will have that as humans, but truly holding on to what maybe the women of the past couldn't do. Um, their scarcity, their lack, their fear, and why it's so very important for women. Unfortunately, a lot of us have it because, um, if I don't even remember when women got to start working and have their own bank accounts and do things like that, where they were seen as citizens and not just, others. But there's a lot of women from the past who maybe never really felt secure or never really felt safe or loved or etc, and we can pass that down in our family. And so now I'm journaling a lot, and I'm remembering the stories that the women in my family have told me, but also remembering my going back into my own memories of, because right now that's what I'm sitting in, is that fear, scarcity, just all around lack that I know is not mine. And that's the funny thing. I know it's not mine, but I've been sitting in it for far too long. If you've been here a minute, you've heard me say Jesus loves me and everything goes my way. And that I do believe in my core that Jesus loves me and everything goes my way. But it's those little limiting beliefs and those little limitations that we carry that like dampens it. It like dims the light on what we actually believe. I actually had one of my friends, Lacey, the other day. She was like, well, like you're a master manifester, like you'll have that in 5 minutes. And I'm like, I was. And that's exactly when I knew that something was wrong, that something was bringing me down, that something was making me small. I have a client, and we say, like, one of our phrases is say the quiet thing, because there's that quiet voice that we know exists that's hanging out. We don't necessarily want to acknowledge it though, but we know it's there and we know it's causing trouble. And so sometimes you just have to give yourself permission to say the quiet thing, even if the quiet thing is uncomfortable, even if the quiet thing might make others uncomfortable. Like admitting and acknowledging the quiet thing is how we move past the quiet thing. And shit, that's real hard work, y'all. And I'm probably going to get shadow banned on Facebook again because I've said two swear words in this and I apologize. Um, I mean, who do I apologize to? I apologize to my algorithm, I guess, really. Sorry, Facebook. But um, yeah, like it's really hard work to uncover what's keeping you small. And I love doing this for other people. Like this is my daytime job. This is my jam. This is how I make a difference in the world, is helping others uncover that quiet voice. And we forget, and I think that's the hardest part about personal development is this new level, new devil. Like you can process through things, you can soar, you can go, and then once you've processed, all of a sudden the new quiet shows up. The new little the new little thing that's going to try and hold you back, it shows up. And you're just like, it's a constant process. It is. But so is being human. So is having all these experiences. Like it is a constant process. That's just what it is. And so I'm just really, long story less long. I'm really excited to be in the space of, not that I'm like searching for things to work on myself always, but like there has been that ache. There has been that sadness. There has been that quiet thing that I couldn't quite name and I couldn't quite put my finger on. And because of this book, I found it. And I am super excited to go. I've already, like, I've journaled every day, I've read every day, I've changed my affirmations, and I've started to develop that plan of how we move forward through this. And at the beginning, it's a lot of dumping, right? It's a lot of dumping of hard. It's a lot of dumping of hurt. It's a lot of remembrance of really hard things. Um, but it's just really good work and it's really powerful work. And I know that the sunrise on the opposite side of a storm is always the prettiest. So I'm just really excited to start walking towards that sunrise, start walking towards the colors and getting that vibrancy back. We all fall off. We do. Um, and it's you should not shame, blame, or guilt yourself for feeling wrong or for feeling off. Um, but it is your responsibility to get out of it. And you don't have to do it alone. That's the beautiful thing about being a human, is that none of this do you have to do alone. A lot of times we think we do. So I'm here to tell you, you don't. You don't have to do it alone. So if you're in a season where things feel not right and you don't necessarily want to say the quiet thing, just get real honest with yourself. What are you feeling? What is it trying to tell you? And really focusing on what expansion is on the other side of blasting through that wall. And if you're having a really hard time where you're like, I don't know, I just feel stuck, or I just feel unamused, or I feel bleh, like those are all symptoms for something for you to work through. And I'm happy to be the person to help you work through them. I'm happy to be the person who guides you through that. That is my calling. That is my God's gift, to help people feel seen, heard, loved, and cared for when they don't feel seen, loved, heard, and cared for. That's what I'm here for. So if you're listening to this on Facebook, you're listening to this on the podcast, either way, I'm your girl. I've got you. Like a best friend who's going to tell it straight like it is. You don't have to do this work alone. You just have to do it. Okay. So, and you're in good company because I'm doing it with you. I'm really excited to see what is going to be on the opposite side of this season as I process this information and I work through that generational trauma and I work through the mother wounds, because working through my dad wounds yielded such a beautiful harvest. And so I'm just really excited for what this harvest is going to be. Thank you for being here for the journey. Thank you for listening. I love y'all. I mean it so hard, now I almost said half-heartedly. That's not real. I love you so full. I love you so much. And you are awesome. And my goal in life is to keep you in a space where you remember that. So thank you for being here. Even though it's been weeks, I commit social suicide all the time, or social media suicide all the time by not posting as much. but it's okay because I honor myself and I honor my growth and I honor my quiet. And I just needed the quiet. So thank you for still being here. If you are listening to this and you're like, girl, I need you, my contact information is going to be in the show notes or it's going to be in the comments on this video. Feel free to email me, text me, slide into my DMs, beat me, page me, whatever it was, whatever else was on, chirp me, whatever else was on that wonderful song from the 90s or early 2000s. Either way, just get a hold of me. You're not alone. You don't deserve to do any of this alone. Okay. Love you. Mean it.